Hi, Julian. How are you?
Doing pretty good. And yourself?
I'm very good too. I'm Larry Katz from Plants on Wheels.
Well, great to meet you, Laurie.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, thank you for joining Plants on Wheels, our podcast. We know that it involves a lot of time, effort, and energy, and we definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on as well.
Thank you. So, and if I mispronounce the name of the company, please let me know. But is it your name's Julian and is it Julian and is it Magic Tea?
That's it. You got it. Magic tea, a magical tea.
Beautiful. I love the name actually. I do.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was easy to come up with it. It just always was magic tea for me.
And so how how did you come up with that name?
Well, the name just came naturally because I just saw the tea and it just felt magical. Because if you've seen the pictures or videos, or if you've seen it in person, it turns blue in the light. I have a little cup here so you can kind of see. Let's see if you can kind of get that blue hue at the top there. So you
Yeah.
see that it has like a little blue hue, kind of like a halo at the top. It looks more blue if you're outside in full sunlight, but it's just kind of magical to look at it. So I always just thought like this is a magical tea, not only because it looks pretty cool, but also it has these polyphenols, which are what give it the blue color, and also make it antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, kidney protective, liver protective. So it really is magical for many other things, like all the health benefits that it has. And it's just from one ingredient, just from the wood of a tree. So all those reasons just made me always kind of think of it as like a pretty magical tea. So instead of magical tea, I just called it magic tea, and that's where the name came from.
I love it. It's a great name. So you went from playing guitar in a rock band, right, to founding a tea company.
That's right. Yes.
Can you walk us through that, the moment? And if I hope to pronounce Palo Azul,
That's it. You got it. Yeah. Palo Azul.
how did that go from, from maybe a cool idea or a cool discovery to feeling like that was your calling?
Well, it took some time, but basically I was playing guitar in a rock band around 2014, so about 12 years ago. And then one day I was telling the singer about this urinary pain that I had, and he told me to drink this tea called Palo Azul, which is used for UTIs in Mexico. And he told me that he had used it to pass kidney stone, and that his grandmother told him to drink it. So then I started reading about it, and he told me that it turns blue. So he was the first person to show me Palo Azul, the singer of this band. And then we both just started drinking it and reading about it, learning about Palo Azul. And about 6 years after that, so it took a whole 6 years of us talking about this and playing music together to the point where we eventually decided like we should probably share this tea with more people. It helped us, it helped our family members, it's helped a lot of other people. And a lot of people always asked either me or him, how have I never heard of this tea before? Because it's a wood that turns blue, that's got all these benefits. So it's kind of like a crazy thing that a lot of people just have never heard of. So that's what led us to decide to start the project and start a company to share Palo Azul. So about 6 years ago was when we started to do this, and then since then we just kept going, sharing the tea. We ended up splitting, so he ended up just doing it by himself in Mexico, and I just kept going here in the USA. So that's kind of how that happened. It took a long time for us to, or for me to realize that this was a calling, but always it was always in there, like somehow within me that I wanted to share this with people. So I just initially started sharing it with friends and family. And then after hearing from so many people that it helped them or that they loved it, I just decided probably a lot more people need to hear about this. And that's what led me to start the company about 6 years after I had started to drink it.
Yeah, that's an outstanding, not even a story because that sounds like it's a story, but that's an outstanding history. And and it shows how long it takes to actually bring an idea from a thought to
Right.
fruition, right? Um,
Yeah.
so I give you a lot of credit for that.
Well,
Uh,
thank you. You're right. It was a long journey. It was like so fascinating to me in the beginning, but in the beginning, I wasn't really thinking about starting a company. I always kind of honestly thought like, okay, I want to do music. Like that's really what I always wanted to do, and I still want to do music to this day, and I still do music. But back then, I just always thought like, oh, somebody else will probably make this super popular and get it into Whole Foods and share it with the world. But then years passed on and nobody was really even talking about it. I thought with social media, eventually somebody would like promote it and then I would start seeing it everywhere. But the only places that you could really buy Palo Azul back then was either eBay, maybe Amazon, or Mexican grocery stores. So it was also kind of difficult to find it. So that's what eventually, after all these years of seeing that, okay, nobody's really sharing this Palo Azul tea, then that led me to think like, even though I want to do music, maybe I have to do this also.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, which it sounds like you are, you will have, many different, a vast amount of interests, right? That you want to put energy towards.
Yeah, definitely. Being a musician is being an entrepreneur also, pretty much. Nowadays, like you got to do everything yourself. You got to promote yourself. You have to sell your music, your product, market it, right? So it's a lot of the same principles apply. So it's kind of like your own business as well.
Absolutely. So tell us about how Palo Azul, how it affected even and it helped people in your own family, like your grandmother,
Yeah,
your
so
father.
my grandmother, unfortunately, she passed last year, but
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
thank you. Thank you for that. She's in a better place now. She lived a long and happy life. But while she was drinking it, she started about 5 years ago or so. I moved in with her for a period, so I would prepare it for her and give it to her and take her to the hospital and everything, take her to her doctor. So she started seeing her blood sugar numbers improve. So the doctor took her off of metformin, which is the pill that they give people who are either pre-diabetic or diabetic to improve their insulin sensitivity or their blood sugar levels. So just naturally, she started improving her diabetes, her pre-diabetes. Also her arthritis. So she had a lot of pain in her joints. She was very swollen in the ankles and knees and her fingers. So she had arthritis in the fingers and the hands. And she started also feeling less swollen and less pain in the joints drinking the tea. So that was the way that Palo Azul helped my grandmother. And then there's my dog and my father as well. So my father, he had a gout and he had a lot of pain in his knees also, so lower back pain as well. It's all kind of connected. It's all just inflammatory conditions that occur in the body that are creating these stones or accumulation of uric acid in the body that end up causing either gout or arthritis. So the conditions are kind of all related, and Palo Azul inhibits this enzyme that produces uric acid and it lowers inflammation. So that's how essentially it helps with both arthritis, sciatica, also gout. So that's how it helped my father and my dog. He also had some arthritis and liver problems. So started giving him Palo Azul, and he's getting up there. He's 13 years old now, so he's a little old. He's still he's still kicking it, but you can tell that he's also kind of moving slower, and he's not what he used to be energy wise. So he's going through the course of life, but at least Palo Azul helped him about 3 years ago when his problems began. and he has made it farther than we thought he would. So I'm just happy about that.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's beautiful. So let's talk about that blue fluorescence, right? When you brew it, it literally glows. What is the story behind that magic?
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy story. So plants basically evolve these nutrients called polyphenols to defend themselves. So that's what makes them antiviral, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, etc. And some plants evolve fluorescent nutrients to defend against excessive UV radiation from the sun. So plants like Palo Azul that grow in the desert that get too much sun, too much UV radiation, they evolve these polyphenols as a mechanism, essentially like a shield, to defend and absorb high energy light. So that's why it only turns blue when it absorbs high energy light. So even with like a flashlight, you can see it a little bit better. So you can see if I shine with the phone's
Oh
flashlight,
yeah.
it'll show up right there.
Yep.
So with my light that I have here in my room, you don't see it as much because it's a low energy light. So that's kind of how the fluorescence in plants work. They have to absorb high energy light in order to emit light. So that blue color that you see with Palo Azul is literally emission of light. So that's why it looks like it's glowing because it literally is. It's emitting light, so it looks more vibrant than say like a blue Gatorade drink or a blue spirulina, which is just blue. It's like the pigment is blue. With Palo Azul, what makes it blue is light. And a lot of other plants, like there's a lot of flowers that are also fluorescent, also a lot of rocks and animals. So this is a phenomenon that occurs in nature, not just in Palo Azul. There's many other species, a lot of fish. They're technically ocean creatures are technically not fluorescent, they're bioluminescent. It's similar because they look the same because they're both emission of light, but bioluminescence does it by chemical energy as opposed to Palo Azul, which does it by absorbing light. So it's kind of the same phenomenon, but it just does it through a different source of energy. One is with light and one is with chemical energy, because in the ocean, you don't have sunlight. So animals and plants in the ocean just evolved a different way to emit color. And there's different theories as to why certain species fluoresce. One of them is for mating. It's like the peacock effect. So if you look brighter, if you look more glowy, you mate more, you're more successful because you attract more of the opposite sex. So it ends up becoming a trait that just through evolution becomes more prominent. So that's why some theories say that a lot of animals fluoresce just to attract, essentially. Some also for camouflage, and then there's plants which also do it for mating because they attract, let's say, bees, for example, so they pollinate more because the bees they see differently as we do. So there's all these different traits that fluorescence kind of gives to plants and animals. So that's why nature is all glowing. It's kind of crazy. That's why I said it's kind of like a crazy story because it's been going on through evolution for thousands or probably millions of years, and now we're kind of it's a recent discovery too that a lot of these plants are fluorescent. I started reading the studies, and it's only been since like the 1990s or so, maybe like 1980s, that botanists started discovering these fluorescent flowers and fluorescent fungi and trees that are fluorescent. So we're still there's still much more to learn. There's still
Oh
probably
yeah, it's
thousands
still
of plants.
in the infancy stage, as they say, probably.
Exactly. And
But
have you
that's a great background and amazing story. Um,
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that nature is all glowing. We just have to go out there and find them, you know? Shine a UV light out there in the forest when it's at night, and that's the best way to find fluorescent things. Because during the day, there's light pollution, so it'll be a little harder to see it.
Understood. And so I've read somewhere about the rejection, right, and the perseverance it takes and the persistence it takes to get to where you are now. Um, what kept you showing up when things got tough?
That's a great question. And honestly, it was just
Thank you.
always the mission for me that was most important. I believed in it so much that it didn't matter to me if I got 20 no's in a row when I started selling it into stores, because I just knew that in the beginning, a lot of these things, there's a lot of skepticism because if you're the first one, people always wonder like, oh, if it's so good, then how come I've never heard of it? That would be something that I would get a lot in the beginning. And it's because in the beginning, people they see something and they don't understand it yet, maybe. So you have to try to overcome that and you have to try to explain and you got to be willing to just overcome all the resistance, just like with in the beginning with, let's say, electric cars or something. In the beginning, people they were resistant to move into electric cars, and now it became the norm. Now with things like the Waymos and the AI Ubers, right, some people are very resistant to that in the beginning because it's different, it's weird, you don't understand it. So it's like a wood that turns blue, it's different, it's weird. People think like, why would I drink a wood? I've never done that before. So in the beginning, when something is new and different, it can be a good thing and a bad thing. It's like a double-edged sword because it's unique. So there's nothing else like it. So in that sense, it's good because we would go to some stores and in the shelf, there's so many different types of teas, but you don't have any Palo Azul tea on the shelves. So I would go in and if the person understood truly, like the store buyer, that this tea is blue because of polyphenols that make it healthy and that it's all natural, then people would really love it. So it was like a kind of like a love or hate thing, which ended up playing out well for me because since there's no other spot in the shelf that has a Palo Azul brand, then it became kind of not easy. I'm not going to say easy, but it became easier for me to convince a store buyer that, hey, like you're kind of missing out on this amazing natural product because you have 30 different green teas, but you have not even one blue Palo Azul tea. So they would, they could more easily replace one of their 30 or 50 or 100 different types of teas for one of mine. So I would get at least one placement on the shelf, and then that would give me a chance. Once I got the chance, I would just keep going to the store, doing demos, marketing, all the things, provide brochures, educate people. So I started getting some traction, and that traction was huge in terms of like helping me to drive myself because I started hearing from customers themselves because I kept going to the same stores. So a lot of customers would literally tell me, "Oh my God, like I started drinking this and same thing as my grandmother. It improved people's blood sugar levels, it improved people's UTIs." So I started hearing from persons face to face how it helped them. And every time that I would hear something like that, or every time I would get a testimonial on the website, that would give me so much like drive and inspiration to keep going, no matter how many people rejected me in the beginning. So I just always believed in it, and I just wasn't gonna take rejection. I wasn't gonna let rejection stop me because I knew that it was a good product overall, and that eventually people would understand.
And you were right. So
So I
you
think so. We're getting
and
there.
be careful what you wish for, as they say, right?
Exactly. Yeah, a little bit.
So you're now in Vitamin Shop, Walmart, Amazon, and as far as from when I checked, over 1,000 health stores.
That's right. Yeah.
What was the first big yes that cracked everything open to you?
I still remember my first big yes was this health food store with two locations. So it wasn't like something huge, but it was called Nature's Food Patch. It's like a Whole Foods sized, independently owned health food stores in Clearwater by like the Tampa area, Florida. So that's where I began. And I just always wanted to get into that store because it was so nice and so clean and it had all these healthy products. And I loved to just go to that store. So I went about 8 times or so. Made the drive over there. It's like an hour away from me. And I tried to meet with the buyer so many times, and he was always busy. And then eventually, finally, I get to meet with him for like 2 minutes. And in those 2 minutes, I just told him what I had to tell him, and we got the yes. And then after that, that's like one step in the ladder. So we took the first step in the ladder, and then since we were now in this store, other stores that were also reputable and healthy, kind of like that one, the Nature's Food Patch, started actually believing in our product as well. It gave us kind of like the stamp of approval. So that was a pretty big first no for me. And then after that, I would say once I moved to Los Angeles, once we got into Area One, that was a huge step forward as well, because that's as you maybe know now, it's become a nationally recognized store, even though it's just in California, and it's gone viral uh, because celebrities go to it, and there's all these smoothies that people love about it, and it's kind of like a crazy store because they sell all these unique things. So it's a very unique store and prestigious here. So when they said yes, I was so excited, and it was like a rush of happiness and excitement, and I just felt so thrilled that, oh my God, like this is real. Like actually all this work that I've put into this brand, now it's being recognized, and we're gonna get into like one of the best grocery stores in maybe the whole country, but for sure one of the best, or the best in like in California, in the Los Angeles area. So that was a huge step forward. And all these little steps that we started taking, they give you more and more reputability, more and more credibility, more stamps of approval. So then you just start getting into more stores. And that's why now there's all these independent stores that have just purchased our product without me ever even contacting them, because they just see it online, or they looked it up on Google, or they saw a video on TikTok or something. And then they just purchased our product through our wholesale page. So all
That's
those little wins,
amazing.
they add up.
That's really amazing. So, Magiktea is the first USDA organic and wildlife friendly certified Palo Azul brand. And you source from a protected natural reserve in Mexico. How did you find the right partner to make that work?
That was a little journey in itself as well. So it started with a different supplier that was also organic, and the supplier themselves, they were certified organic, but the Palo Azul was not yet. So it was going to take about 3 to 5 years to to go through the whole process. So I started thinking, okay, we can do it. I can wait. But then eventually this is what I would do when I couldn't go to sleep. Like I would just go on Google and start searching stuff. So I ended up going through the USDA database, the USDA organic database, and started looking up Palo Azul, Eisenhardtia polystachya, the scientific name, and trying to find anything that is associated with the USDA organic certification with Palo Azul. There wasn't anything for Palo Azul, so literally zero search results. But then I looked up Palo Dulce, which is another name for it, and I found this place in Guanajuato, Mexico, that just calls Palo Azul Palo Dulce, but it's the same tree, the same plant, also blue and everything. So I called them and spoke with the owner and loved her mission, their mission. It's a brother and sister who have been in this farm because her family bought the ranch like 30 years ago. So they have this huge natural reserve, and the whole thing has been certified organic since 2009. So everything is just done as nature intended. There's no pesticides, no synthetic fertilizers. You just have animals roaming all over the place, fertilizing the soil, and they harvest according to the moon cycles and everything. So it's like a little piece of heaven. Honestly, when I went there, I felt like I was in a little piece of heaven. And I met them, and we both have pretty much aligned missions of just helping people improve them with real food, real nutrients, real plants that actually are grown the way that they were meant to be grown, and not just genetically modified plants that are sprayed with a bunch of stuff. So when I saw the way they do things, I met them and I heard their missions. I decided like this is our partner. These guys are the ones that we need to be partnering with. And they had everything already certified organic and also wildlife friendly certified. So everything is done sustainably. So that's why we decided to go with them. And I think we couldn't have made a better decision, honestly. It's not only organic and sustainable, but also the tea itself, the Palo Azul that they provide, it tastes better also. So I started getting a lot of customers saying that this tastes even better. It tastes a little sweeter. So that's why they call it Palo Dulce, which is sweet wood or sweet stick. And the previous one was kind of like more earthy, more bitter. So I didn't understand why they called it Palo Dulce, to be honest. But then I started trying this new one and I started kind of seeing, okay, that's why they actually call it Palo Dulce, because it does have a very subtle sweetness to it. But that's how we ended up finding them. It was just me searching in the USDA organic database, found them, gave them a call, and then eventually visited the farm and met the owners, met the people, the workers, and decided these are the ones.
Wow, what a story of resilience and perseverance. I
Nice
give you a
time.
lot I give you a lot of credit for that. Um, so you've built what you call the magic team, right? Which is as we speak, I believe thousands of people spreading the word about Palo Azul. What does that community mean to you?
I couldn't I couldn't have done this without all those people. I mean, this is too much for one person to take on. I think all of these new plants that become more popular in the world, maybe like one person is sort of the first domino, pushing a couple other dominoes and starting the wave, starting the motion. So I think I just pushed dominoes here and there, and then all of a sudden, a lot of people really started loving it. And I've met people that are super passionate about Palo Azul, just like I am. I go to a lot of events here in Los Angeles, and now there's people that I go to the events and they are serving Palo Azul tea and they're serving magic tea and they're telling people about fluorescent polyphenols and they're like ambassadors. They're part of the magic team. So that's why I called it that. Obviously, it's like a little pun because magic tea, and you just at the end. So we are a team. I think essentially without all these people, all these influencers, all these other souls who are also attracted to this same thing that I was attracted to, nature and this healing power that it has. Without all of us, I think I wouldn't be where I am today. We wouldn't be in Vitamin Shop and we wouldn't be in all these other stores. In all these other stores, all these independent health food store owners who believe in Palo Azul also, they're part of the magic team because they're helping us to educate their customers who maybe have never heard of it, but they are putting it in their store and they are telling people about it, and they tell me all the time that we send brochures and we send samples, so they hand them out to people, and they love that we give them educational materials because a lot of people have never heard of it. So they are helping us to educate the world about this natural remedy. That's why I call them all the magic team. We're all just in this together.
That that makes sense. We're all connected, right? I mean, I feel.
Yeah, exactly, my friend.
So, speaking of that connection, what role do you hope that magic tea plays in the future of plant-based wellness?
Great question. And I have actually thought about this. I think that because of the blue color, this is such a cool way to explain and to get people to understand about plant nutrients and polyphenols. Because green tea has polyphenols as well, but you just look at it and it's like a brownish liquid, it doesn't beg the question like, why is it brown? Why is it amber-ish? Why is black tea black, right? But when you see this, you think like, why is it blue? So the way to explain it is simple as plant nutrients, polyphenols. And then you start going into that rabbit hole. So my hope is that through this story of what makes it blue, people can start to understand this is how plants defend themselves, and this is how it helps humans. This is how we can educate people about polyphenols and plant nutrients. If we educate the world about this in Palo Azul, it applies to all other plants as well that have polyphenols. So now a lot more people are aware of what flavonoids and polyphenols are. When I started this, a lot of people would have no idea what polyphenols are, and now I get a lot of people who do know. So now people are starting to learn more about nature and nature's healing properties and what the nutrients are that help us. So I think if people overall in the whole world, like I imagine a world where like everybody kind of understands, okay, plants help us cleanse our body from inflammation, oxidative stress, heavy metals, toxins because of polyphenols who make it antioxidant. So they scavenge free radicals and all these things, right? Then I think more people would be able to cleanse their bodies from all the garbage that has been put in our bodies because of all the processed food and all the toxins in the water and you name it, you know?
No, I
Not to go
agree.
deep into that rabbit hole, but um,
Mhm.
there's heavy metals everywhere you look, and there's toxins in the air, there's chemtrails, and there's all these things. So I think if people just use plants as a defense mechanism, essentially, then you can start to cleanse your body and you can start to cleanse your mind, and then you become a better human. You become better able to pursue your mission. You become more vital. You have more energy, and you just feel better. So I think this is my aspiration, is that we can just educate more people about plant medicine, not just Palo Azul, but this is the one that I'm using kind of like as a vessel to educate people on polyphenols.
And so in the past, I guess earlier on, and maybe even now, you've used consignment as a way to get visibility on shelves early on. So for founders listening, how did something like that actually work for you?
Yeah, so it it helps you get into stores easier for sure. The only issue is, as you can imagine, obviously, sometimes the product doesn't sell well, or maybe the store owner doesn't pay. So that is a cost that I was willing to accept. So thankfully, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't really most of the like the majority, like 99% of store owners were very honest and they paid and they were good on their promise. But when you leave a product on consignment, you can make them sign a contract. Honestly, I never made anyone sign a consignment contract. I would just tell them, yeah, I can leave you some product on consignment. If it sells, good. If it doesn't, then I'll just take it back. And it was only a couple of occasions where they sold it and they didn't pay, or they either went out of business or something like that, and then we never got paid for it. But thankfully, it wasn't too bad. So I would say if you have the opportunity to get into a store and the contingency is that you have to provide the product on consignment or even a free fill, which is just a free case, like 6 units, 12 units or so, then if you believe in your product and you believe it's going to sell in that store, because Palo Azul, good product and everything, but it wasn't gonna sell in every store. So some stores I did this with and it just didn't sell well. So that's just not, it's not the fault of the product itself. Sometimes it's just not the audience, not the right place for it. So I think if you believe that it's going to sell well in a given store, then you gotta go for it. You gotta give it a chance at least. If that's the contingency that you need to go with in the beginning, you are the one that has to provide like you have the burden on yourself to provide the proof that the product is actually going to sell. You can't expect that other people are gonna take that that burden for you and buy your product before it even sells. What if they buy it and nobody buys it? And then now the store owner is out a couple $100 because they purchased your product and it didn't sell. So it's like we have to assume that responsibility, I think, at least as a founder. And since I believed in Palo Azul, I would assume it. So using consignment helped us get into stores in the beginning that we maybe wouldn't have gotten into. And then I just put up like a shelf talker or a table tent, or I highly recommend this also for any founder. Like just make point of sale materials, whether it's a shelf talker, table tent, brochures, and that way you can educate customers on what your product is and what makes it different, what makes it unique. So I every time that I had a chance to, I would put them up. And then I would also go to the store, do demos in person. That takes a lot of time and energy. It's the only bad thing. But in the beginning, I think it's pretty important to do that. That way you get to move the product. So if you get just a couple good customers in the beginning, then that's all you need. Because if you get one person that really loves it or two that really love it, and they buy it once a month or a couple times a month, and then there's other random people that buy it also, then that's enough for you to stay on the shelf at least. But if you have nobody that knows it and you just assume that because you got into a store that people are gonna buy it, then maybe people don't actually buy it, and then you got the first step, which is to get into the store, but then you didn't take the next step, which is to prove that it was going to move, that it was going to sell. So you gotta have both.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And so, from what we've seen, the younger generations are moving away from caffeine and alcohol. How does magic tea fit into that shift?
Yeah, indeed. I see that a lot over here, especially in California and LA. A lot of events that I go to are now non-alcoholic. The bars, I don't go much there, but whenever a cousin visits or a brother or something or a friend, maybe we go to a club and they're empty. Like I remember how they used to be like 8 years ago or so when I was in college, and they're empty and they have a lot of non-alcoholic options now. So this is caffeine-free tea, so there's no caffeine, and a lot of people are also avoiding caffeine now. So I get a lot of people who tell me like, "Oh, like this is perfect for me. Like I've been trying to get rid of coffee, so I can use this as a replacement." And people now understand also that caffeine, it can impair your sleep. So, and it a lot of people tell me that they feel jittery with it or anxious. So people are replacing their coffee more and more now with herbal tea, which Palo Azul fits into. So I think it has helped a lot of people to curb their caffeine habit, and now they can just drink something that's healthy that kind of tastes a little bit like coffee because it's a little earthy, sort of like coffee, and has no caffeine. So it just is helping people to kind of just avoid drinking caffeine all day. And for the people who want non-alcoholic drinks that give you like a sensation, then what I see in events here is things like kava, things like mushrooms. Uh, the legality is questionable, but things like microdosing, like psilocybin mushrooms. So a lot of people now they just much rather do other substances. Palo Azul doesn't really have like a feeling of like euphoria or something like that that it gives you when you drink it. It's more just for cleansing. So I don't know if Palo Azul is really replacing alcohol or non-alcoholic drinks, but I serve it at a lot of these events, and some people tell me that they really just love how it makes them feel. They feel just cleansed and more uplifted or energetic. I get a lot of people that say things like that. So it might, for some people be enough, but for a lot of people, they still want like something more powerful that makes them feel like that highness of being a little bit drunk, but without the alcohol. There's cacao also now, if you've seen the rise of cacao over here. That does give you a little bit of a feeling of like openness and a little bit euphoric, like it gets you kind of more social. So there's a lot of plants, natural plants that kind of give you that feeling of like alcohol, like being more social, more open without the alcohol.
Understood. So, and my apologies, I didn't actually ask you this sooner, but I read that you previously were nonstop about reading about entrepreneurship and things of that nature. And I was just wanting to know, were there any books or ideas that really shaped your approach?
Yeah, there's several. We could talk about this one for a good amount, but I'll give you so one book that really instilled this thing of belief in me was Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, founder of Nike, because I literally still remember the moment I do audiobooks mostly. I still remember the moment I was driving and I'm hearing the audiobook, the parts where he's like he goes on a run and before he starts Nike, he's thinking to himself like, what if what if it would work? What if I can make this happen? This idea of the shoe company. And then he says to himself as he's running, there are no what ifs. By God, I will make it happen. And then that just put this thing in me like, you know, it's not about what if Magiktea would work. Like, I know it will work. Like, I will make it work no matter what. And so having that thing in me instilled this drive that led me to read more, learn more, do all the things that I needed to do and then started learning more about things like, for example, like I love the book Start with Why and the One Thing. Those two kind of placed also this philosophy in me of like the mission of this thing matters so much that you need to just focus and every single day push forward. So the one thing is essentially about focusing and doing, taking one step ahead every single day. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, no matter how long it takes, like Lao Tzu says. You just keep going, and if you just focus on the right things and you're pushing the right dominoes every single day, you get the most ROI essentially for your energy every single day. So there's a million things that I could do on a given day. Today, I decided, right, this is one of the things we're doing this podcast because I feel like this is a great way for me to invest my time as opposed to standing in a store and serving samples of tea. Like there's a trade-off. Like I could be doing many other things, but if every day you really try to strategize and think, what is the one thing that I can do today that's going to move me forward the most at this point in time, then this is changing as you go along the journey, right? In the beginning, for me, that one thing was knocking doors, getting into stores. Then it was Facebook ads, figuring out this Facebook ads phenomenon and getting an ROI that's profitable, right? Then it was the website. So all my energy would go into this one thing at a time. And because of that philosophy, now I just, everything that I do every single day, I'm always kind of intuitively just thinking about this. Intuitively, I'm always just thinking, what is the one thing that I can do now to really share Palo Azul, spread awareness a lot with a lot of people? So there's several things, but podcasts, influencers, those are two big ones, and still Facebook ads, content. So creating great content. So I write a lot of content and record. I improve the quality of the content. I look at courses on social media, how to get videos to go viral, all these kinds of things. So that's why I think that philosophy of the one thing and the mission being the most important thing, that just everything else falls into place if you have those things uh, like really clear in your mind. But aside from that, there's a lot of other books about marketing, for example, that really helped as well. And the reason I read all these books is because of the passion, because of the why, the start with why. which is another good book, Simon Sinek, and that's where it all comes from. If you start with the why you're doing the thing, then everything else starts falling into place because you know how important it is. So you know it's essentially your duty, your destiny, right? To do all this admin work that might be boring, but you know that it must be done in order for you to fulfill your mission. So all the admin work that I don't like to do, I do it anyways because I know this is just what I need to do.
Outstanding insight about everything that we're talking about. I really appreciate that. Um, and just, I guess, a few more questions before we wrap up. Are there
Awesome.
any
Well, you
new
got some good
uh,
ones, so I like your your story.
are there any new Palo Azul blends on the horizon?
Yes, actually, we're working on it. So we're gonna use some of the other herbs from the natural reserve. So it's all gonna be same origin, and we're gonna flavor it with different herbs and nothing else. So it's not gonna be like added artificial flavors or added natural flavors. We're just gonna use some of the other plants that are already available in the farm, and we should start being able to produce those like 2027, I believe. We've just had some challenges. You know, this is one of the admin things that it's not fun to do, but like production and milling the Palo Azul, cutting it, figuring out the machine to do it. So it's been a challenge kind of to figure out a machine that'll cut it consistently and small enough without dust so that we can put it in tea bags efficiently and so that it runs on the machines. And there's a lot of things that kind of we need to figure out, but that's what's been holding us back. If we had the machine, we would have been doing flavors probably since like early 2026 because I've been wanting to do that. It's just that we need a consistent cut so that we can mix the Palo Azul with the other herbs and that it all flows in the machine well. Because if it's clumping up and it's not flowing, then you got to have manual labor and then everything becomes more expensive and it's slower. So everything takes longer and now we're out of stock. Like that's been the reason why we've been out of stock several times. It's because of delays in production, because of the inconsistency in the cutting. So once we figure out this challenge, which we are pretty close to do it, then we can start doing more SKUs with flavors. So it's on the horizon. It's on the horizon. We're working on it.
Excellent. Looking forward to that for sure. And so, Julian, you're already in the US and Canada and Europe. Where is Magic Tea heading next?
Well, we've had some interest from places in Colombia because I'm from Colombia, so I've been there and I've showed it to some stores there and friends that also have contacts there. So potentially Colombia would be the next place, probably. I'm still mostly focused here in the US. I think there's a lot more to do here still. We've been to a lot of trade shows and we always get interest from other countries, like Asian countries frequently, like Vietnam. We've got people from like Japan. So potentially there, but I still think that we're young. We're too young to start trying to go international and there's a lot of expenses that we have to deal with when we're exporting and you have to send high quantities. So you gotta have a lot of inventory. So eventually we want to for sure. I would love to expand Magic Tea all over the world, especially Asia, because there's the China is the country that drinks the most tea in the world. So I know it would do okay there. I also know that they are very traditional, so they're very, with their traditions, their green tea, their matcha. So I don't know how well like they're gonna receive a Mexican tea. but I think there will be a market for it. So eventually, I think we will expand internationally and go to definitely the UK because we have a lot of international orders from customers that buy from the UK. So the majority of our international orders from direct to consumers, it's either Canada or UK. So I think those two places would be good targets. Canada, we can definitely do a lot more in for sure because we just basically have dipped our toes there. Like there's just some stores that sell it, but we don't really have a distributor there yet, and we are not in their major health food chain stores. So Canada, I think would be a good next step. But yeah, for now, I think we need to focus still here in the US, and if an opportunity arises, then we'll probably go for it.
And if someone wants to find your company, how would they, what's the best way to contact you?
You can find us at magiktea.com with a K, so Magik. And on social media, we are Drink Magic, so Drink Magik. And TikTok is Magic Tea with a K. So we got that one.
And you ship, are they able to order online?
Yeah, we can ship pretty much everywhere in the US, everywhere in the world. There's just higher shipping costs if you're international. Sometimes it's not too much more expensive. Like Canada, it can be like 15 bucks to ship.
Okay.
And then there's stores like I think Vitamin Shop would probably be the easiest one for people nationwide to find us at.
And as far as you know, is your product available in the New York area?
Yes, there's a lot of independents that have purchased it in the New York area. We have a store locator on our website, just on the top menu, and there you can see in New York like all the independents that have our product.
Very good. Well, Julian, I want to thank you very much for I mean, for the outstanding conversation with you today.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate all the questions. Honestly, great conversation, great questions. Things that I think about a lot myself. So thank you for asking and making me say them out loud, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, those generic, I don't know, they seem to lose some type of authenticity to them, right? If you just asking the same thing anybody else would ask.
For sure, for sure. So keep doing what you're doing, my friend.
Thank you. You too, Julian. Thank you. And we'll be in touch, of course.
Alrighty. Appreciate it.
Enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you, Julian.
You too. Have a
Bye
good
bye.
one.
You too.